Hello guys!
What up?
Welcome back. We thought we would have a chat. We finished the last podcast. We chatted about, some sort of advice we could give, if we could give any, for other influencers or if they want to start out. And then we said today we'd talk more along the lines of advice for fans or like fan bases. So
Yeah.
where did you touch on that?
I think it's a really interesting topic, man. I think it's something that's not spoken about
I think
enough.
it's a very broad topic
It
as
is.
well.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely broad. You can go so many places with this one. But I do think just as much as influencers have responsibilities. You're right, there, bro. Don't dribble.
No, I forgot how to drink too.
You got that? Yeah, put it in your mouth. That'd be useful. But I feel like influencers and people like that they have responsibilities.
Yeah.
But so do the public, and I think they don't realise the knock-on effects of their. Even if it starts off as just an original thought or controversy or idea or something, they don't realise the ripple effects within a fandom and how that can really become a solid force. Now, again, that's quite broad. It's like, what are you getting at, Ryan, Sunny, Four Eyes, and the Skyscraper? But what we're getting at is never feel sorry for influencers or people like that. If they screw up and they're getting hate, you screwed up and you're getting hate. If you're not good enough and you're getting hate, you're not good enough and you're getting hate. Get over it.
Get over it, boy.
No, I'm saying, but there is a time when, I think especially in times of boredom, where if nothing's happened with your brand for a while, fans start to pick on you a little bit.
And
they start to
look
pick
for
up on
things
things.
almost.
Yeah, and amongst each other, and start creating divides in the fan base even. And that's where, to me, as a fan of anything, no matter what it is, the same way if you're a fan of chocolate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You love chocolate.
Okay.
You still need to treat that chocolate in moderation, certain expectation, understand it's got some flaws, and not get too sickly on it. Or you end up vomiting, or you end up out of the kind of physical shape you want to be in.
Don't eat too much of it.
Exactly. You got a chocolate moderation, and sweets and things like that. With fan bases, it's the same thing. I think you need to be careful how much you are
Let it
immersed.
consume you.
Yeah, you're immersed in that influencer or in that fandom. Be careful how much that consumes you.
Or even a situation that's happened
Yeah,
in that fandom.
because again, we're still being vague. We're speaking like up here at the moment. It's like, woo, we need to get like.
Okay. For me, yeah. If we're not being vague, for me, it's when someone gets like really, which is fine to be emotionally involved in things. I think that's
Definitely, you need it in life.
Yeah, you need it in life. But when some people get so emotionally involved, and then there's some sort of difference of opinion within the fandom, and then you start being nasty to that other person, that's not a debate then, and that kind of defeats, at least from our purpose, the whole point of a fandom anyway. The idea is to bring people together, like unify people in a common interest. Right?
Yeah, and sometimes there'll be a divide, and there just will be, and sometimes those divides are healthy.
That's okay. Like it's okay to not agree on everything. You don't have to like.
It's
start
when,
pointing fingers.
it's when the divides think that like everything they think or say is the right thing, and it becomes like a more political debate then, doesn't it? About an influencer or about each other as a fan base.
Yeah.
And and here's why I think this is important for us to acknowledge and to speak on. And we really want to see your guys' response to this. So the comments are going to be interesting. Make them interesting, guys. Let's hear your thoughts on it. But I like that we're getting closer. It feels like it's getting more serious.
Intense, right?
My beard's itchy, man. It's so annoying. But there is definitely, in an influencer's career or lifetime, there's a whole load of opportunities to attack them for something they've done wrong, minor mistakes or whatever. I think there's some lines of appreciation, and I'm not saying this for our own benefit. I really don't mind. Like, people can do whatever they want as long as they're happy. But there are times you can exploit an influencer for doing something wrong, and you can really attack them and kind of bully them as a people. Where you wouldn't, if it was matey boy next door has probably done the same thing. She doesn't have a following, doesn't shout out. An influencer has a duty to its fan base or to their fan base to be vulnerable and exposed and give away all their cards really. And you accept that a private life is something you don't really get to choose upon. You're inviting people in, expect them to come in. Don't be pathetic about it. And I think because they've put themselves in the firing line, as a fan base or as an audience, you have every every right to voice your opinion on them. But I think there's a line between voicing your opinion on them and making sure that they acknowledge, their mistakes or whatever. There's also a line where it becomes attacking and it becomes quite vicious. People can get seriously hurt from this stuff. There's a lot of mental illness that gets involved at this level for influencers as well as fan bases. There's a lot of nasty ways to deal with things. And I think someone like Justin Bieber, some of the stuff that he did and got vilified for a long period of time. I've done a lot of those things. And they're very mild things, like in the grand scheme of things. Not all of them, but some of the things I know I've done at some point. As most people have. Most people that kind of push the boundary a little bit, are a little bit naughty here and there, will have done something wrong. And no one else gives a flying shit because here's someone else, it's their parents' problem or whatever. Yeah. But when Justin Bieber did or when an influencer did, it becomes the world's problem. It's like the example of young people has just gone down or something's taken a hit, so the world feels like it needs to fight back to push it back up. Really, it's not the case. I think by exploiting them and making them these big things, you aid the brandability of those things. And once they become brandable, they become acceptable. And that stems from an audience's responsibility. And people gave like Logan Paul and Jake Paul notoriety for doing some crazy videos. You as an audience gave them the permission to take those further and expect more each time. And the fact that they ended up screwing themselves over and did a multitude of stupid things. Obviously the Forest and some other things are just inexcusable. That is the influencer's complete fault. But there's
then
things
that's different. Then
that is different. That's their line. That's the influencer line. We've got a line as well. Influencers have a line as well to be responsible for. But there are things where you being controversial, fighting against and voicing your opinion so strongly on this person pushing the boundary has only aided their motivation to keep pushing it because you're giving them the attention and you're giving them everything. You're giving us everything.
You're giving them the
you
vibe
want.
that they want.
Yeah, there's no such thing as bad publicity. It's just a sad fact. It helps pretty much every influencer at some point. It's where that responsibility then goes for the influencer is subject, I think, large in part to a fan base's responsibility as a whole. So I think it's important as a fan base and as individuals to keep rain check on each other and how much you're actually giving to this person and what kind of person they are and what kind of values they hold. Because there's a lot of pricks out there who maybe look good or sing well, but they're pricks. In my eyes, they should be dealt with.
I was going to say, I think it swings the other way around as well. It's how you say some people that are a fan of a certain audience to a certain influencer will like pick and maybe I use this word lightly but like attack things that if someone else did that isn't online showing what they do every day, they wouldn't care, like you said. But then I think there is the flip side where influencers and people with an audience can abuse their power definitely.
Massively. And
try and get away with things the other way around that most people wouldn't get away with. And then I still think that's okay for people to pick up on that.
Yeah.
And almost call them out for that. But here's the thing that is important. I think it's always about how you say it, not what you say it. Like if you're going to call someone out, one, make sure what you're saying is relevant. Don't tell them to just go die because that just has nothing to do.
You become a bit of a bully then, yeah.
Yeah, and I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, that is just a flippant thing said on the internet apparently these days, which is kind of mad to me.
Mate, a lot of death threats get thrown around online.
Yeah, don't just say something obnoxious. Make sure what you're saying is relevant and just say it in the right way. Don't let them get away with it if they're abusing their power or they're trying to get away with something that they shouldn't necessarily be getting away with. Call them out, but it's how you do it. Yeah,
this goes back to the responsibility thing, and there's so many examples that fit in this same vein for influencers, right? So I'm just gonna like explain the stages. An influencer does something wrong, and then everyone watches, assesses whether or not that's going to be get big enough attention for them to then receive some sort of clout off it. And I think it works its way all the way down. Like I think some other bigger influencers might want to voice it because they know they'll get the attention for it, and then smaller influencers, and then eventually like everyone has an opinion on it because they want to be involved in the clout of it. What we don't realise is no matter what that person did wrong at the top, they're only winning from that situation 90% of the time. Sometimes they're definitely losing. There are career enders out there.
Yeah.
But you're aiding most of those situations because you want to voice an opinion. There's a time and place, I think, to voice an opinion if you're looking out for the greater good. That like right now with all the things going on in the world, everyone should be voicing their opinion. It's where everyone needs to come together to make big, significant change for everyone. But when it comes to an influencer doing something wrong or something little, in the grand scheme of things, like, I don't know, they like peed on the sidewalk, pissed on the sidewalk, like Justin Bieber did, and Chris Brown did, and some other people have done. Everyone's pissed in public, don't care who you are, everyone's done it.
Yeah.
Probably even had a shit in public as well, if as children, like when you're a kid, like your mum and dad might take you camping, like right, just go in the woods or whatever. Definitely happened to me, mummy. But I think everyone's pissed in public for sure, and by vilifying these people for doing that, you are in a way just giving bigger notoriety to the fact they pissed in public and making it more likely for other people to piss in public.
You definitely have.
Yeah, like no one else is going to care. They're just going to see it as like, yes, Justin Bieber does it as well. Everyone does it. Like they're just going to be something that's admired in a twisted way. It's the way social media is and behaviour is online. So it's important that you respond. Like if you're seeing this go on, you can have an opinion. Just keep it there. The second you put it to social media, you fuel the fire.
Like, literally just dude, that's not cool. Like, that's all it needs. Like, I know you might not think that's much, but if 100 people go to you, bro, that's not cool. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Like,
or nothing.
Or literally nothing, or just I don't really want to see you pissing on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough. You don't have to be like, you're the worst person ever, go die, I hope you rot in hell, blah, 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 blah. Like, dude, like, we're not saying it's okay to do, but there's, like, a way of going about things, you know?
But
and I'm not saying you just have to always be like, you know, dude, that's not cool. Depends how serious the situation is, you know? Like, I'm not saying let people run free with it, but there's a way to deal with things, and I think sometimes an influencer does things, and there's people on this side that just look for like they're actively looking for that person to like slip up in the most minor ways so that they can attack it.
Yeah,
but then at the same time there's the opposite, bro. There's people that like influencers that will like, I mean, mess up big time, like do something inexcusable. I'm not gonna bring any up, but let's be real, there's a few, right? Like they will do something inexcusable and there will still be people that will just like be blind to that and be like, no, they're right, they're great.
It's true, and it is that there
and
is.
I think
something
then as a fan you have a responsibility to call that person out.
Definitely,
like,
yeah.
I think that's some advice I'd give.
I agree. There's definitely a time to, you know, hold people accountable, but just bear in mind the consequences of doing so. Like, you are actually aiding them in some way, because unless it is those exceptional circumstances, sometimes there are serious things that happen, like pissing in public in a way. It is something you shouldn't do.
It draws more attention to it.
But yeah, you're drawing attention to it. You're making people talk about it more. And really, the better thing to do is not acknowledge it. Then that person is less likely to do those things because they know they're not going to get any notoriety for it. People should be getting notoriety for doing great things and good things. That is how the world should work. It never will. That's never how it will be. There'll always be propaganda. There'll always be depressing news stories. That's just life. It's going to be that way for a very long time. In a few centuries, it might be slightly different. Another podcast. But I think right now there's always going to be shit, and the more as an audience we fuel that fire and we participate in that process, we just end up backwardsly helping the negative cause most of the time. Like, I do think it's most of the time. There are exceptions where people need to talk about something.
Okay, what about this angle, right? I want to talk about this, or touch on it at least a little bit. What about, I think it's important not to rely too much on influencers or certain type or certain individual channel or certain form of content too much. When you rely on it because at the end of the day, not everyone is going to do what they want to do forever, right? It's like when, you know, a band finishes, like One Direction breaking up broke some people's hearts, man. But like,
they were going to break up.
And some people were so heartbroken by it because they relied on it. And I think it's important to aid these things in helping you feel better in day to day if it does help you, but don't rely on it. Because once those sources cut away, I think that's an important bit of advice to give to fans. Like, find a few things that you like. Do you know what I mean? Because once that person finishes, say you love this certain influencer, right? And like one day they just decide to stop making things, like, it's crazy, but honestly, like a lot of people that would affect mentally, like quite bad, like they'd suffer. They've not got that one thing. It's like TV shows. People have it with TV shows as well, right? You know, when someone's like really into a series, and then it finishes, and like they just want more. Like they don't want it to end. I think it's important not to rely on something like one individual entity for happiness. I think
definitely you have to love yourself the same way we love ourselves.
Yeah.
Like.
Because
you guys should love yourselves first before you love anyone else.
Yeah, because I know that this is an escape for a lot of people, which is fine. Like that's cool, but I think it's important to try and encourage people not to rely on it and to find other forms of happiness when you rely on it. This applies to anything in life as well, not just like things on the internet or influence.
I think it's super important, man, and it definitely isn't. It's definitely never going to sink in. I think for a lot of people, but like. As a fan or as someone who might, we're all fans, man, or someone. How far you take that admiration and how much it suppresses the rest of your life or other things you like doing can have a serious negative consequence. Like people should, the escapism side is the good bit, but love yourself or focus on yourself. Influencers are at their best if they are entertaining and it's fair and ethical and they're entertaining, or they are providing value and motivation. Like that's where you should be as an influencer, as successful. You shouldn't be exploiting situations. Ephemeral content's bollocks. You should be in the zone of like aiding like a greater good sort of cause.
Yeah.
And fans, that's where fans should take that and put it to action in their own lives. That's what like the beacons. Well, influencers are like the beacons of certain things. And I think that's where it's great they can reach a wider audience and get a message out and create a community and a culture that I think is amazing. That's what we love, isn't it? About building like a culture and like a belief system where it's like we believe in ourselves and like we wanna be that generation that like helps make a big difference for all the right reasons. Like there's so many generations that fucked it and like being selfish. Like we really want to try to be that generation that that did some good and always looked out for others as well. Sounds like pretty simple, but I think that is overlooked massively. A lot of people looking out for themselves these days.
They overlook that.
Yeah.
And they overlook the fact that everything has a ripple-on effect. Like you're gonna have you create a ripple effect whether you like it or not. So if you're gonna create one, make it a positive one, make it a good one.
100%, yeah. And everyone's gonna make their mistakes. How you vilify your influencer is something I think you should always double check. Always double check it, because you might, a lot of the time, you'll be helping them by voicing an opinion. Have an opinion, keep it to yourself, or tell your friends. But it's the second you put it online and you tag that person in it, or it's a part of the hashtag or that trend, it can actually do a lot more damage than good. So just try and learn when and like why the influencer is putting that piece of content out, how it's gotten out. That's another key thing. Is that them? Are they playing some clever stunt to try and use negative press as a good way of building a brand? And it happens all the time. All the time. Governments do it. It's a massive thing that happens. But it can be pretty dangerous, I think. And the responsibility is then on the audience, I think. I don't think it's on the influencer. There's always going to be bad influencers and good influencers.
Yeah, don't use being... Like if you're part of someone's audience, don't use that as a way to spread some more negativity.
Yeah, man.
If I could give any advice, try to learn something from the people you're a fan of. Man, being a fan changed my life, because I was a fan of people so much that I wanted to like do the things they did like as well as they did. Like if you're a fan of someone or you're part of someone's audience and you admire what they do and it's something you'd like to do, use being a fan of someone, use the emotional investment that you have in that, whatever it is, that brand, to improve yourself. Like use it, take that on board. Like don't just... that's what I would give as advice anyway. Don't just use it as mere entertainment. If it's entertaining, cool, but
no, man, that's a really nice nugget. I like proper appreciate that sentiment, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's true, the best an influencer can be is when they motivate some sort of change in people and in yourself. And I can look back at times and be like, if it wasn't for that person doing those things that I watched, I wouldn't have made a certain choice. Yeah. Which changed my life, and that they would never realise. And like the same way people have said that to us, that we changed their lives, we can never appreciate that because we weren't there with them watching it get changed. And it's always very hard to be like, I accept that I changed your life. Like it will never compute with like logic. But you have to kind of accept in some way that your actions can do that to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more we try and improve ourselves as people and like behave to people that are ethical and nice and cultured and all these great things, you know, we want to try and get across those best traits and work on them so that the audience watching, generation watching, grows up with that same kind of mentality. And it's so doable. Like it just sounds so simple, like cliche or whatever, or wet, whatever people want to call it. But like those are the things.
You're wet, bro.
Yeah, bro. But those things really matter. Like those are the things that really matter. They're the things that I care about.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that pretty much everyone in this house cares about. So why not make that part of your brand? Like your brand doesn't have to be this like cutthroat, like it's perfect, it's like here and it does this and it moves in mysterious ways. It should just be, I'm a decent human being, man, and I do some cool shit, here it is. Yeah. Like that's where it should be. How far you want to take that's up to you, but it should be cocooned in that I'm a decent human being and I'm trying to spread some underlying good message. Definitely is key, I think. Something, it reverts back to the last video, doesn't it? Something that influencers need to bear in mind.
Yeah, make sure what you're sending out's good, and I think, you know, the same equally from fans.
Yeah, you want to be on the internet, make sure you're a presence of good. If you don't want to be a presence of good, you just want to be a troll all the time, you just want to be this and that, you might not even mean some of the stuff you say. It doesn't matter, someone's going to take it the wrong way. Yeah. And there's a responsibility you have for that, and I have and you have for that. We're all responsible, because we've all got a phone. Yeah.
And like I said, trust me, if you're going to be a fan of something, you know, fan, just short for fanatic. If you're going to be fanatic about anything, a subject, whatever it is, you know, use that for the good. Like I said, like being a fan changed my life. Like being a fan of other singers that were like my kind of age, seeing that they could do it. Like it was only because I was a fan of them that I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. Why not?
Yeah, man.
Like granted, I wasn't so like ballsy about it at first, but like it was being a fan of them that like gave me the idea to try it myself. Like, you know, you can do that. It doesn't matter what, like it doesn't just have to be a singer. Like it could be anyone. You could be a fan of someone that runs a certain business. Like use it to inspire you. Like I know yourself, right? Like you're into business and stuff, right? Would you say like you're like a fan of like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and like some of their principles?
Massively. I think it goes beyond being a fan. I think
borderline mentors.
I think I look to those people in like books and knowledge and things like that. I look to those things as a tool to like condition myself, and that's like it goes beyond being a fan. You are looking at those people, what they're doing, and using them to make their experiences and decisions to make real change in yourself. And it's not. And there's other people as well. Not even just great. I do love business and building businesses and managing things like this and exciting. But I love the creativity as well. So just as inspired by some great musicians out there who maybe didn't have a good business sense, but had a great craft, and those things trade off. Like you need to have a great craft in business to be successful. The same way you need to have with your great craft has some sort of business ethic has to complement it. Yeah. And all these things help each other. And I think by looking to people for motivation and not for ephemeral like laughter all the time. Ephemeral laughter is fun. Everyone loves a bit of that. I'll do that all the time. But there's also times like this where you want to try and help out. And this is probably one of the first times we've directly spoken to the fan base and said said anything that we think will actually be helpful to you, not just in a short-term sense, but in a hopefully if you guys can take some of this and like just test it out and see what happens, then maybe there's some change there. Yeah, huge. I think last thing as well before we close off, what do you think on drama? Like, do you think sometimes a fan base and people in general want drama? They want the drama from the influencer. They want to be able to pick at them. Therefore, the picking at them process will always survive and thrive.
Yeah, because I think for some people, being part of a fandom, they almost feel like they're in their own soap opera, like their own episode of EastEnders.
You kind of control the opera house,
Yeah, and you can kind of control, not control the storyline, but like, if you can fish out the storylines that you want to make headlines and put them on drama accounts, like you know.
You know what you're doing,
Yeah.
It's true, yeah. I think people do want the drama and actually facilitate it.
I get it, to be fair, it makes sense. Like it creates good drama. Unfortunately, sometimes influencers are on the negative receiving end of that, but like it makes sense. Like, you know, they create, like, it's almost like being part of the entertainment. Like, that's kind of cool that they can do that, right? In a kind of twisted way. Like, they can see another brand, like someone else's brand, and create entertainment within that person's fandom without them even doing anything. Like, they can just spark the drama.
It's true, man. That's a big reason as to why me and you ever got any success. Is because our fans were the best ones at delivering content. They just you guys would keep sharing stuff and spreading stuff around, and like sometimes some really beautiful things as well. Some like great pieces of work, and I'm just like, regardless of that having our face on it, that's a beautiful thing they've made. They've made something really good. That deserves its own kind of notoriety. It just happens to be our face that's used in the content, so it helps us as well. Yeah. And that kind of community, yeah, you're right, is really powerful, man. It's cool. We should definitely get some fans live calls on the show.
Yeah,
on the show. On the show. What the fuck has happened?
Hello, welcome to Four Eyes and the Skyscraper.
The show.
You're live. How are you doing?
Fucking hell. But no, we should get some people on there. Some fans of the podcast, I think.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
On an Instagram live or something, and just see what you guys think of certain things. Would be interested. But I hope you've been useful, man.
Yeah, I hope you've taken, like, you know, even if it's like the smallest little bit, or all of it you found useful.
Maybe suggest some things in the comments as well, like things that you think within this arena of like controversy with influencers and things like that. Is there anything you want us to speak on, like deliberately, like that someone else has done? Is there something that's happened that you would want our opinion on?
Is there something we missed that we didn't touch on?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there's a lot in this place that we could talk about as an us and you sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think we can all communicate in a cool way on this kind of topic. So maybe we should try and do that. Yeah, guys, thank you. Subscribe.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, we look forward to the next one, bro. We're gonna try and get some others in it as well. Have a good day.
Give us a thumbs up, please.
Yeah, man. Thumb it. I stumbled on the phone.